The Odyssey finally returned to Earth, its battered hull a testament to the dangers it had faced. As the ship descended through the atmosphere, the crew looked out at the blue planet below, their hearts heavy with both relief and uncertainty. They had uncovered humanity's forgotten legacy, delivered a message to the stars, and narrowly escaped destruction. But none of them knew how the world, or the galaxy, would respond. When they landed, they were met by a mix of cheers and chaos. News of their mission had spread across the globe, sparking debates and protests. Some hailed them as heroes who had stood up to an alien threat. Others condemned them for risking humanity's safety. Military personnel escorted the crew to a secure facility where they were debriefed for hours. Every detail of their journey was scrutinized, every decision questioned. Alex spoke on behalf of the team, his voice steady but firm. "We didn't do this to start a war. We did it to show the galaxy that we're not afraid. But we're also not looking for conflict. Humanity has a right to explore, to grow, and to reclaim its place among the stars." His words resonated with many, but tensions remained high. World leaders convened emergency meetings, trying to decide how to respond to the alien fleet still lurking at the edge of the solar system. Scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the data brought back by the crew, hoping to unlock more secrets from humanity's past. Meanwhile, ordinary people around the world grappled with the implications of what had been revealed. Rachel spent her days poring over the records recovered from the ruins, piecing together fragments of humanity's ancient empire. She discovered evidence of alliances formed with other species, technological marvels that defied modern understanding, and even hints of a shared culture that had once united humans and aliens. It was proof that coexistence was possible, if both sides were willing to try. But not everyone was ready to embrace peace. The alien fleet remained a constant presence, watching and waiting. Their earlier warning echoed in the minds of those who doubted humanity's ability to stand against such overwhelming power. For every person inspired by Alex's courage, there was another who feared the consequences of provoking the Galactic Alliance. Amid the uncertainty, Jake made a choice that would change everything. When the aliens began probing Earth's defenses, testing its resolve, he volunteered for a dangerous mission. Using the coordinates from the ruins, he piloted a small craft back to the desolate planet, determined to reactivate the ancient machinery one last time. He knew it might mean sacrificing himself, but he also knew it could give humanity the edge it needed to survive. As Jake activated the final failsafe, the ruins erupted with energy, creating a temporal distortion that disabled the alien ships. The fleet retreated, their weapons rendered useless. Back on Earth, the crew watched in stunned silence as the immediate threat faded. Jake's sacrifice became a symbol of humanity's resilience. Across the globe, people mourned his loss but drew strength from his bravery. The message he helped deliver sparked a new era of unity and determination. Humanity knew it couldn't face the galaxy alone, but it also knew it wouldn't back down. In the months that followed, Earth prepared for whatever came next. New technologies were developed, inspired by the discoveries from the ruins. Diplomatic efforts were renewed, reaching out to any alien species willing to listen. And though fear lingered, so did hope. Daniel Harper, who had first detected the mysterious signal, summed it up best. Standing under the stars one night, he whispered to himself, "They're afraid of us, not because of what we have, but because of what we can become." Humanity's journey was far from over, but for the first time in centuries, it remembered who it truly was, a species unafraid to dream, to fight, and to reach for the stars. Whatever challenges lay ahead, it would face them together. The Odyssey raced through space, its crew battered but alive. Behind them, the alien fleet gave chase, their ships moving with terrifying speed. Jake gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles white as he pushed the engines to their limits. "We're not going to outrun them," he muttered under his breath. Alex stood behind him, gripping the back of the pilot's chair. "Can we lose them? Any tricks left in this ship?" Jake shook his head. "Not unless you've got a miracle up your sleeve." Rachel, still clutching her scanner, spoke up. There's one option. The ruins. They had some kind of defense system. If we can trigger it remotely, maybe it'll slow them down. Sam frowned. And how do we do that? We barely survived reactivating the network once. I recorded part of the sequence when I was working on the console, Rachel explained quickly. If I can replicate it here, we might be able to activate it again. Do it, Alex said without hesitation. It's our only shot. Rachel hurried to the main computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The screen flickered as she uploaded the data, trying to establish a connection with the ancient machinery on the planet below. Sweat dripped from her forehead as seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. They're gaining on us, Jake shouted, glancing at the radar. Less than a minute before they're in firing range. Almost there, Rachel murmured, her voice strained. Finally, the screen lit up with a confirmation message. Asterisk signal sent asterisk. A moment later, the alien fleet abruptly slowed. Below them, the ruined planet began to glow faintly, its surface lighting up with patterns of energy. Massive beams shot into space, creating a barrier between the pursuing ships and the asterisk Odyssey asterisk. The aliens hesitated, their formation breaking as they tried to navigate around the obstruction. It worked, Sam exclaimed, relief washing over him. We did it. But Jake didn't relax. Don't celebrate yet. That won't hold them forever. We need to put as much distance between us and them as possible. With the alien fleet temporarily stalled, the asterisk Odyssey asterisk surged forward, leaving the glowing planet far behind. For the first time since they had arrived, the crew allowed themselves a brief moment of hope. They had delivered humanity's message. And for now, they were safe. Back on Earth, the signal reached every corner of the globe. Governments scrambled to decode it, while scientists marveled at its complexity. The message was simple but powerful. Humanity knew the truth about its past and sought peaceful coexistence with the galaxy, but it would not surrender its right to explore the stars. Public reaction was mixed. Some saw the message as a declaration of strength, proof that humanity could stand against even the most advanced civilizations. Others feared retaliation, convinced the aliens would see the transmission as an act of defiance. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, with people demanding answers from their leaders. Meanwhile, Laura Bennett watched the news unfold from the observatory. She had been monitoring the signal closely, tracking its journey across space. When it finally reached Earth, she felt a surge of pride and fear. Humanity had taken a bold step, but the consequences were impossible to predict. In deep space, the asterisk Odyssey asterisk continued its journey home. The crew sat together in silence, exhausted but united by what they had accomplished. They had uncovered humanity's forgotten legacy and faced the galaxy's greatest powers. But none of them could shake the feeling that their actions had set something irreversible in motion. Alex broke the silence. No matter what happens next, we did the right thing. We showed them who we are. Rachel nodded, though her expression remained troubled. I just hope they listen. As the ship drifted through the void, the alien fleet regrouped beyond the barrier. Their ships glowed ominously, preparing for whatever came next. The war of words had begun, but whether it would lead to peace or destruction remained unwritten. The crew of the asterisk Odyssey asterisk didn't know what awaited them when they returned to Earth. But one thing was certain. Humanity's future among the stars would never be the same. The Odyssey returned to the ruined planet, its desolate surface as foreboding as ever. The crew approached cautiously, knowing that reactivating the ancient network carried immense risks. If they succeeded, they might open a line of communication with both Earth and the aliens. But if they failed, or if the aliens saw their actions as a threat, they could trigger a disaster. As they landed near the collapsed structure, Alex addressed the team. We don't have much time. Let's focus on finding the central hub of the network. That's where we'll need to send the signal. Rachel nodded, clutching her scanner. I'll try to track any residual energy signatures. They should lead us to the core. The group moved quickly, navigating through the debris left by their previous visit. The ruins felt different this time, quieter, yet heavier, as though the planet itself was holding its breath. Shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally long, and the air carried an electric charge that made the hairs on their necks stand up. After hours of searching, Rachel's scanner picked up a faint pulse beneath the ground. "It's here," she said, pointing to a section of cracked stone. "We'll need to dig." Sam grabbed tools from the ship while Jake stood guard, his eyes scanning the horizon. The work was slow and grueling, but eventually they uncovered a hatch embedded in the earth. It was sealed tight, covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen before. "This must be it," Alex said, brushing dirt off the metal surface. "Now we just need to open it." Using a combination of brute force and technical skill, Sam managed to pry the hatch open. Inside was a narrow staircase spiraling downward into darkness. The air smelled stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in millennia. One by one, the crew descended, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. At the bottom, they found what they were looking for, a massive chamber filled with machinery unlike anything they'd ever seen. Crystals glowed faintly along the walls, pulsing with rhythmic light. In the center of the room stood a console, etched with familiar symbols. "This is it," Rachel whispered, awe in her voice. "This is the heart of the network." Alex stepped forward, examining the console. "Can you figure out how to activate it?" Rachel hesitated, her hands hovering over the controls. "I think so, but I'll need a few minutes." As she worked, the rest of the team kept watch. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the hum of the machinery. Then, without warning, the lights grew brighter, and the whispers returned, soft at first, then louder, overlapping in voices that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "What's happening?" Sam asked, gripping his flashlight tightly. "I'm not sure," Rachel replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "But I think the system is waking up." Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the walls began to shift. Panels slid open, revealing hidden mechanisms that whirred to life. The console lit up completely, bathing the room in blinding light. A holographic projection appeared above it, showing a map of the galaxy, and Earth at its center. "We're live," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "The signal is broadcasting." But their relief was short-lived. Outside, the sky darkened as ships descended from orbit, dozens of them, sleek and menacing. The alien fleet had arrived. "They know we're here," Jake said, his voice grim. "We've got company." Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. "We can't leave now. Not until the message is sent." Rachel typed furiously, trying to finalize the transmission. Almost done. Just a few more seconds. The trembling grew stronger, and the chamber began to collapse around them. Rocks fell from the ceiling, and cracks spread across the floor. Jake shouted, "We need to go." "No," Alex yelled back. "Not until it's finished." Finally, a loud chime echoed through the chamber, signaling the completion of the transmission. Rachel turned to Alex, tears in her eyes. "It's done. The message is out there." But there was no time to celebrate. The entrance was blocked, and the room was falling apart. Jake grabbed Alex's arm. "If we don't move now, we're dead." Reluctantly, Alex nodded, and the team sprinted toward the exit. Behind them, the chamber imploded, sealing the ancient network once again. As they emerged into the open air, the alien ships loomed overhead, their weapons trained on the Odyssey *. Jake led the way, shouting, "Run, get to the ship." They barely made it inside before the first shots fired. The Odyssey * shuddered under the impact, but Jake took control, piloting with desperate precision. With engines roaring, they shot into the sky, leaving the ruined planet and the alien fleet behind. Back aboard the ship, the crew collapsed in exhaustion. They had delivered humanity's message to the stars. Whether it would bring peace or war remained to be seen. As the Odyssey sped away from the ruined planet, the crew gathered in the main cabin to review what they had uncovered. Rachel connected her scanner to the ship's computer, pulling up fragments of data she had managed to save before fleeing the collapsing structure. The holographic images and glowing symbols were incomplete, but enough remained to piece together a clearer picture. The records revealed that humanity's ancestors weren't just explorers or conquerors, they were survivors. Thousands of years ago, humans had developed advanced technology far beyond anything modern Earth possessed. They traveled across the galaxy, colonizing planets and forming alliances with other species. But their rapid expansion came at a cost. Alien civilizations saw them as a threat, not because of their weapons, but because of their adaptability. Humans could solve problems, overcome challenges, and endure hardships in ways no other species could match. They didn't lose because they were weak, Rachel explained, pointing at the screen. They lost because everyone else was afraid of them. Alex leaned forward, his expression dark. So the aliens banded together and wiped us out. They destroyed our empire and erased our memories. Sam shook his head, his voice quiet. That's insane. How do you even erase an entire civilization's history? They used some kind of technology, Rachel replied. The ruins we found. They weren't just buildings. They were part of a network designed to suppress human progress, to keep us trapped on Earth. Jake frowned, crossing his arms. But why leave any trace at all? Why not destroy everything completely? Maybe they couldn't, Alex suggested. Or maybe they wanted to make sure we stayed scared. If we ever started reaching for the stars again, they'd be ready to stop us. The truth settled over the group like a heavy blanket. Humanity wasn't just a species trying to find its place in the universe. It was a force that had once reshaped it. And now, after centuries of forgetting, they were beginning to remember. But the revelations didn't end there. As Rachel dug deeper into the data, she discovered something even more unsettling. The logs contained warnings, not from the aliens, but from the humans who had lived during that time. One entry stood out. Asterisk, beware the cycle. When the stars call again, the war will return. Asterisk. What does that mean? Sam asked, his voice uneasy. Rachel hesitated, her eyes scanning the text. It sounds like they knew this would happen. That one day we'd rediscover our past and try to reclaim it. And when we did, the conflict would start all over again. Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. So we're walking straight into a trap. Maybe, Rachel admitted. But if we don't act, the aliens might decide we're too dangerous to let live. Either way, we don't have much time. The crew fell silent, each lost in their thoughts. They had uncovered humanity's forgotten legacy, but the weight of that knowledge was overwhelming. What were they supposed to do now? Return to Earth and share the truth, risking panic and chaos, or keep it hidden, hoping to avoid provoking the aliens further. Finally, Alex spoke. We need to send a message to both Earth and the aliens. We'll tell them we know the truth, but we're not looking for war. We just want to coexist. How do you plan to do that? Jake asked skeptically. The aliens won't trust us. We use the ruins, Alex said firmly. They're still active. If we can reactivate the network, we can broadcast a signal. Show them we're willing to talk. Rachel nodded slowly. It's risky. Reactivating the ruins could draw attention, maybe even retaliation. I know, Alex replied, but it's the only way. We can't sit back and wait for them to make the first move. The decision was made. The crew plotted a course back to the ruined planet, knowing full well the dangers that awaited them. As the Odyssey hurtled through space, the crew prepared for what might be their final mission. They had uncovered humanity's terrifying legacy. And now, they would face the consequences. The trembling grew stronger, shaking the ancient ruins around the crew. Dust rained down from the ceiling as cracks spread across the walls. The glowing platform beneath their feet pulsed erratically, its light flickering like a dying flame. Rachel grabbed Alex's arm, her voice rising with panic. "We need to get out of here." But Alex hesitated, his eyes locked on the holographic projection. It was still playing, showing more scenes of humanity's forgotten past. In one image, humans stood together on a distant planet, raising banners marked with symbols that resembled Earth's oldest languages. In another, they built massive ships capable of traveling between stars. These weren't just conquerors, they were explorers, dreamers, survivors. "Not yet," Alex said firmly. "We need to see this through." Sam shouted over the growing rumble. "If we stay, this whole place could collapse on us." Alex didn't argue further. He knew Sam was right. Reluctantly, he turned away from the projection and motioned for the team to head back toward the entrance. As they moved, the whispers returned, soft at first, then louder, overlapping in voices that sounded neither human nor alien. The air grew colder and shadows danced along the walls despite the lack of light sources. When they reached the doorway, the ground shook violently, knocking them off balance. Rocks tumbled from above, blocking part of their path. Rachel scrambled to her feet, clutching her scanner. "Something's activating these ruins," she yelled. "It's responding to us being here." Jake Thompson, the pilot who had stayed behind on the ship, radioed in. His voice crackled over the comms. "What's going on down there?" "I'm reading major energy spikes coming from the structure." "We're trying to get out," Alex replied, coughing as dust filled the air. "Hold the ship ready. We might need an emergency pickup." The team pushed forward, navigating the collapsing corridors as quickly as they could. But the ruins seemed alive now, shifting and groaning as if fighting back. At one point, a section of the floor gave way, forcing them to leap across a widening gap. Sam nearly fell, but was pulled up by Alex just in time. Finally, they burst into the open air, gasping for breath as they stumbled away from the crumbling building. Behind them, the structure collapsed entirely, sending a cloud of debris soaring into the sky. The crew turned back to watch, stunned and silent. Whatever secrets remained inside were buried once again. As they caught their breath, Jake landed the Odyssey nearby and rushed out to meet them. "Are you all okay?" he asked, his face pale with worry. "We're fine," Alex said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But we found something big." Back aboard the ship, the crew gathered in the main cabin to discuss what they had seen. Rachel summarized the holographic projections, explaining how humanity's ancestors had once ruled the stars. "They weren't just explorers," she said. "They were unstoppable. That's why the aliens erased them, to stop them from spreading further." Alex nodded grimly. "And now we know why the aliens are so scared of us. They think we'll do it again." Sam leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "So what do we do? Do we tell Earth, or keep this quiet?" Rachel hesitated. "If we tell Earth, people will demand action. They'll want to reclaim what was lost. And if the aliens find out, they'll see it as a declaration of war." Alex finished for her. He looked at each member of the team, his expression resolute. "We can't let fear control us. But we also can't rush into this blindly. We need to figure out how to handle this carefully." The decision weighed heavily on everyone. Humanity's forgotten legacy had been uncovered, but at what cost? As the Odyssey prepared to leave the planet, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that their discovery had awakened something far greater than themselves, something that might already be watching. The Odyssey descended slowly toward the desolate planet, its engines humming softly as the crew prepared for landing. From above, the surface looked like a graveyard of giants. Crumbling towers and shattered spires stretched across the horizon, their once majestic forms now reduced to ruins. The air was thick with dust, and the sky glowed faintly orange, casting an eerie light over everything. As the ship touched down, Alex took a deep breath. "All right, everyone, he said, his voice steady but tinged with tension. "Stay sharp. We don't know what we're walking into." The crew suited up and stepped onto the alien world. The ground crunched under their boots, littered with fragments of stone and metal. Rachel carried a scanner, her eyes scanning the surroundings nervously. Sam brought tools in case they needed to collect samples or repair equipment. Each member of the team had a role, but none of them could shake the feeling that they were being watched. They moved cautiously toward one of the larger structures, a towering building that still stood despite centuries of decay. Its walls were covered in carvings, intricate patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Rachel ran her gloved hand over the surface, tracing the symbols. "These look familiar," she murmured, "like the ones I saw on the ship." Alex nodded, his gaze fixed on the carvings. "Do you think it's a language?" "Maybe," Rachel replied. "But if it is, it's unlike anything we've ever seen before." Inside the structure, the air was colder, and the silence felt heavier. Dust swirled in beams of light streaming through cracks in the ceiling. The crew spread out, searching for anything that might explain why this place existed, or who had built it. It didn't take long for them to find something extraordinary. In the center of the room lay a circular platform embedded with glowing crystals. The light pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Around it were more carvings, but these depicted scenes rather than abstract patterns. Humans stood among alien creatures, their faces determined and fierce. In some images, humans wielded strange weapons. In others, they appeared to be negotiating or strategizing. The message was clear. Whoever these people were, they had been leaders, fighters, survivors. "This doesn't make sense," Sam said, shaking his head. "How could humans have been here? This place is thousands of light years away from Earth." Rachel crouched beside the platform, studying the crystals. "Maybe we weren't always confined to Earth. Maybe this was ours." Alex frowned, stepping closer. "You mean our ancestors?" "That's impossible." "Is it?" Rachel countered. "Think about it. Laura found stories of humans fighting aliens in ancient texts. Now we're standing in what looks like proof of those stories. What if humanity used to travel the stars?" And then something happened. Before anyone could respond, the platform began to hum. The crystals grew brighter, and the carvings on the walls started to glow faintly. A holographic projection flickered to life above the platform, showing moving images of battles between humans and alien species. The humans fought with unmatched determination, using technology far beyond anything modern Earth possessed. But the most shocking part was yet to come. The projection shifted, revealing a map of the galaxy. Stars blinked out one by one as alien civilizations fell, not to war, but to humanity's relentless expansion. Humans weren't just explorers. They were conquerors. Their adaptability and ingenuity allowed them to outlast every adversary, no matter how advanced. "They erased us," Rachel whispered, her voice trembling. "The aliens destroyed our empire because they couldn't stop us." Alex clenched his fists, staring at the images. "So that's why they're afraid of us. They think history will repeat itself." The realization hung heavy in the air. Humanity wasn't just a species trying to survive. It was a force capable of reshaping the galaxy. And now, after centuries of forgetting, they were beginning to remember. But their discovery came at a cost. As the crew absorbed the truth, the ground beneath them trembled. The ruins groaned, and faint whispers echoed through the chamber. Something, or someone, didn't want them here. As the Odyssey journeyed deeper into space, strange things began to happen. At first, they were small and easy to dismiss: a flickering light on the control panel, a brief static noise in the communication system. But soon, the incidents grew more frequent and harder to ignore. One night, as Rachel sat alone in the ship's main cabin reviewing data, she noticed something odd. The screen in front of her displayed coordinates and star charts, but suddenly, unfamiliar symbols appeared. They weren't part of any language she recognized, yet they seemed to pulse with meaning. She called Alex over, her voice trembling slightly. "Look at this," she said, pointing at the screen. It's trying to tell us something." Alex frowned, leaning closer. "Where is it coming from?" "I don't know," Rachel admitted, "but it feels alive." The crew decided to investigate further. Sam Patel, the engineer, ran diagnostics on the ship's systems, but everything checked out fine. There was no sign of a malfunction or external interference. Still, the strange occurrences continued. Lights dimmed without warning, and faint whispers echoed through the corridors late at night. No one could explain it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Laura Bennett was working tirelessly in the observatory. She had stayed behind to analyze the alien signal further, hoping to uncover clues that might help the crew. One evening, while sifting through ancient texts stored in digital archives, she stumbled upon something extraordinary. The texts came from civilizations across the globe: Egyptian hieroglyphs, Norse runes, Native American petroglyphs, and more. Each described encounters with otherworldly beings. Some spoke of great battles fought in the stars, while others mentioned humans driving these beings away. The stories were too consistent to be mere coincidence. Laura's hands trembled as she pieced together the fragments. "This can't be real," she whispered to herself. Yet the evidence was undeniable. These myths suggested that humanity had once been far more advanced than anyone realized, and that their ancestors had clashed with alien species. She immediately contacted the *Odyssey*, relaying her findings to Alex and Rachel. When they heard what she had discovered, the crew was stunned. "So you're saying," Alex began, his voice trailing off, "that we've done this before?" Laura finished for him. "Our ancestors explored space, encountered aliens, and somehow scared them enough to erase our history." Rachel shook her head, struggling to process the implications. Why would they do that? And how did we forget? "We don't have all the answers yet," Laura replied. "But if you're heading toward those coordinates, you might find some. Be careful, though. If the aliens erased our past, they won't want us remembering it." The conversation left the crew uneasy. They were already dealing with unexplained phenomena aboard the ship, and now they carried the weight of humanity's forgotten legacy. Were they about to uncover something so dangerous that an entire galactic alliance wanted to keep it hidden? Days turned into weeks as the *Odyssey* approached its destination. The crew worked around the clock, preparing for whatever awaited them. Strange dreams plagued their sleep, visions of vast cities floating among the stars, of humans standing tall against armies of alien creatures. None of them knew if the dreams were real or just products of stress, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they were connected to their mission. Finally, the ship reached the coordinates. What they found there took their breath away. In the distance loomed a desolate planet, its surface scarred by ruins that stretched as far as the eye could see. Towering structures jutted out of the ground, etched with intricate carvings that matched the symbols Rachel had seen on the ship's screens. It was clear this place held secrets that might answer every question they had. But as the crew prepared to land, they couldn't shake the sense that they were being watched. Something, or someone, knew they were here, and it didn't want them to stay. Alex Carter's determination to uncover the truth about the aliens' warning quickly gained momentum. He reached out to old friends, colleagues, and anyone who shared his belief that humanity shouldn't bow to fear without understanding the real threat. Among those who joined him was Rachel Monroe, whose expertise in decoding languages made her invaluable. Together, they formed a small but dedicated team of scientists, engineers, and military personnel, all united by a common goal: to find answers. The group met in secret, often late at night in a rented warehouse on the outskirts of town. The space was filled with mismatched furniture, whiteboards covered in notes, and computers running simulations. Despite the urgency of their mission, the mood was tense. No one knew if they were doing the right thing or putting themselves, and possibly the entire planet, in greater danger. One evening, as the team gathered around a table littered with papers and coffee cups, Alex stood up to speak. "We can't just sit here and wait for the aliens to make the next move," he said, his voice firm. "If they're scared of us, there has to be a reason, and we need to find it before they decide we're too much of a risk." Rachel nodded, pushing her glasses up her nose. "The signal we decoded mentioned Earth and humanity, but it also had coordinates. Maybe that's where we'll find our answers." A young engineer named Sam Patel spoke up. "Coordinates? You mean like a location in space?" "Yes," Rachel replied. "It's far from Earth, farther than any human spacecraft has ever gone. But if we want to understand what's going on, we might have to go there." The room fell silent. Traveling to such a distant part of space seemed impossible, especially with humanity's current technology. But Alex wasn't ready to give up. "Then we figure out how to get there," he said. "We build something. We push the limits of what we know. If we don't try, we'll never know why they're so afraid of us." Over the next few weeks, the team worked tirelessly. They'd pored over data, designed new propulsion systems, and even considered retrofitting an old spacecraft. Their efforts didn't go unnoticed. Rumors of their activities reached higher authorities, including government officials who were divided on how to handle the alien threat. Some saw Alex's group as reckless troublemakers. Others viewed them as humanity's best hope. Despite the scrutiny, Alex and his team pressed on. They managed to secure funding from a rogue faction within the United Nations Space Command, a group of individuals who believed in taking bold action rather than waiting for disaster. With their support, the team began building a prototype spacecraft capable of reaching the coordinates. As the project progressed, tensions grew. Not everyone agreed with Alex's approach. Laura Bennett, the astronomer who had helped to decode the original signal, expressed her concerns. "What if this is exactly what they're afraid of?" she asked during one heated meeting. "What if sending humans into deep space is what they're trying to prevent?" Alex sighed, rubbing his temples. "I get it, Laura. But staying here isn't going to protect us either. We need to take control of our destiny. If we don't, someone, or something, else will." Laura didn't argue further, but her unease lingered. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing with forces far beyond their understanding. Finally, after months of hard work, the spacecraft was ready. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but it was functional. The team named it *Odyssey*, a nod to humanity's long history of exploration. A crew of 5 volunteers, including Alex and Rachel, prepared for the journey ahead. On the night before their departure, Alex stood outside the warehouse, staring at the stars. The weight of what they were about to do pressed heavily on his shoulders. Were they making the right choice, or were they walking straight into a trap? Rachel joined him, breaking the silence. "You okay?" Alex glanced at her, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about everything." "Me too," Rachel admitted. "But no matter what happens, we're doing this for the right reasons. For humanity." Alex nodded, looking back at the sky. "Yeah, let's just hope we're ready for whatever's out there." The next morning, the crew boarded *Odyssey*. As the engines roared to life, the world watched anxiously. Humanity's future hung in the balance, and no one knew what awaited them in the vast unknown. Months passed since Daniel and Laura decoded the mysterious signal. News of their discovery leaked to the public, sparking debates and fears around the world. Some people dismissed it as a hoax, while others prepared for the worst. Governments held secret meetings, trying to decide how to respond. Scientists worked day and night to understand more about the message, but no one had answers. Then, one morning, humanity received its first visitor. A massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit, so large that it blocked out parts of the sun when viewed from certain angles. The world watched in awe and terror as news channels broadcast live images of the vessel. It was shaped like a jagged diamond, with glowing blue lines running across its surface. No one knew what it meant or why it was here, but everyone felt the weight of its presence. After hours of silence, The ship finally made contact. A beam of light shot down to a remote desert in Nevada, and from it emerged a towering creature unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its body was insect-like, with 6 legs and a shimmering exoskeleton. Its head was long and narrow, with multiple eyes that glowed faintly. It introduced itself as Zix-7 through a device that translated its strange language into human speech. "Humans of Earth," Zix-7 began, its voice deep and mechanical. "We are the representatives of the Galactic Alliance. Your recent actions have drawn our attention." The gathered crowd of scientists, soldiers, and reporters listened in stunned silence. One brave journalist stepped forward and asked, "What actions? We only discovered your signal recently." Zix-7 paused, its glowing eyes scanning the group. "Your exploration beyond your planet threatens the stability of the galaxy. You must cease all attempts to leave your solar system, or face annihilation." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone shouted, "Why? What did we do?" Zix-7 didn't answer directly. Instead it said, "You do not yet understand the consequences of your existence. Comply, or you will force our hand." With that, the creature returned to the beam of light, which vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The alien ship remained in orbit, a silent reminder of the ultimatum. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. People argued over what to do next. World leaders convened emergency sessions, trying to decide whether to obey the aliens or resist. Many feared retaliation if they didn't comply, but others refused to give up humanity's dreams of exploring space. Among those opposed to surrender was Alex Carter, a former astronaut turned activist. Alex had spent years advocating for humanity's expansion into the stars, and he wasn't about to let an alien threat stop progress. He called a meeting with a group of trusted allies, including Rachel Monroe, a linguist who had helped decode the original signal. "We can't just roll over and play dead," Alex said, pacing back and forth in the cramped conference room. "If these aliens think they can scare us into submission, they don't know who we are." Rachel nodded, though her face showed worry. "But we also can't ignore them. They're clearly more advanced than us. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. That's exactly why we need to figure out what they're hiding," Alex replied. "There's a reason they're scared of us, and I want to know what it is." Together, Alex and Rachel began gathering a team of experts, scientists, engineers, and military personnel, all determined to uncover the truth behind the aliens' warning. They knew it wouldn't be easy. The aliens were watching, and time was running out. As days turned into weeks, tensions grew. Protests broke out in cities worldwide, with some demanding peace and others calling for resistance. Meanwhile, the alien ship loomed overhead, unmoving and unyielding. One night, as Alex sat alone in his apartment, staring at photos of Earth taken from space, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was standing on the edge of something monumental. The aliens were afraid of them. But why? What secret did they hold that could terrify an entire galactic alliance? Alex clenched his fists. Whatever the answer was, he was determined to find it. For better or worse, humanity's future depended on it. In the quiet mountains of Colorado, far away from the noise of cities, stood a small observatory. It was a place where stars were studied and dreams of the universe came alive. Daniel Harper, a young astronomer with messy brown hair and glasses that always slid down his nose, spent most of his nights here. He loved the silence, the hum of machines, and the endless mysteries above him. On this particular night, something unusual caught his attention. His computer screen flickered as it processed data from a distant part of space. At first, he thought it was just random noise. After all, space was full of strange signals. But as hours passed, patterns began to emerge. They weren't natural. These weren't the echoes of dying stars or bursts of cosmic energy. This signal had structure, rhythm, and purpose. Daniel leaned closer to the screen, his heart racing. This isn't normal," he muttered to himself. He double-checked the equipment, making sure nothing was malfunctioning. Everything seemed fine. The signal was real. He decided to call Laura Bennett, another astronomer who worked at the observatory. Laura was known for her sharp mind and calm demeanor. She often helped Daniel when his excitement got the better of him. When she arrived, still wearing her coat from the cold outside, Daniel showed her what he had found. "What do you think?" Daniel asked, pointing at the screen. "It's not like anything we've seen before." Laura frowned, studying the data carefully. "You're right. This looks intentional. Someone, or something, is sending this." Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly to decode the signal. It wasn't easy. The message was complex, layered with mathematical sequences and symbols that didn't match any known language. But slowly, pieces of it started to make sense. There were numbers representing distances, coordinates in space, and even fragments of text. One phrase stood out: Earth, humanity, warning. The word warning sent chills down their spines. Why would someone send a warning about Earth? And who could it be coming from? Daniel couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined alien ships descending from the sky or some unknown force targeting humanity. Laura tried to reassure him. "We don't know what it means yet," she said. "For all we know, it could be centuries old. Maybe whatever danger existed is long gone." But deep down, neither of them believed that. Something about the signal felt urgent, almost desperate. It was as if someone, or something, was trying to tell them something important before it was too late. As they continued working, news of their discovery spread quietly within scientific circles. A few colleagues visited the observatory, curious about the findings. Some dismissed it as coincidence. Others shared Daniel and Laura's unease. Whatever the truth was, one thing became clear: humanity might not be alone in the universe, and its presence there might carry consequences no one had anticipated. By the end of the week, Daniel and Laura had decoded enough to pinpoint where the signal originated. It came from a region of space so far away that even light took thousands of years to travel across it. Yet somehow, the message had reached Earth. Whoever sent it must have been incredibly advanced. "This changes everything," Laura whispered one evening as they sat together in the dimly lit control room. Outside, the stars twinkled innocently, unaware of the storm brewing below. Daniel nodded, staring at the blinking lights on his monitor. "Yeah, and I don't think we're ready for what comes next."